Welcome to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm Cam McKinney. This is Head to Head Podcast number 18. NBA predictions part 2, the Western Conference. I will be telling you the top 8 teams I believe are going to make the playoffs in the Western Conference. Let's start with the 8th seed Lakers. Yes, I believe LeBron's Lakers are only going to be the 8th seed. Listen, I believe LeBron is the best basketball player, bar none. But the team lacks shooting. Let's see what they did this offseason. Rondo, Stevenson, Beasley, McGee, Ball, Ingram. None of those guys are three-point shooters, and this is a league whose best teams, Rockets, Celtics, Rockets, Warriors, Thunder, Nuggets, they all have a little bit of shooting. This is the one team that doesn't have a great three-point shooter on it. There is not one great Lakers three-point shooter on the roster right now. LeBron is not that great at threes. His free throw percentage isn't that great either. No great shooters on this team. They are an 8 seed. Listen, I would not be surprised if LeBron goes all LeBron and makes himself a 6th, 5th, or even 7th seed. But, based on the facts that most of the regular seasons he was with the Cavs, he didn't seem to care that much about the regular season. I don't think he cares if he becomes the 8th seed. But I'm not going to sit here and say that LeBron's going to miss the playoffs. I believe that would be a huge mistake on my part. LeBron is going to go to the Western Conference playoffs and lead the Lakers back to the promised land for the first time in 5 years, which is why I think he went to the Lakers in the first place. For the 7th spot in the West, I've got the New Orleans Pelicans. I think it's a huge mistake not to bring back Rondo, but they did make some nice additions with Randall. I believe another year with the Pelicans. Nikola Mirotic leaving the Bulls, joining the Pelicans. That's big. Anthony Davis, I think it's time for him to prove that he can go to the second round with him and him alone. I love Drew Holiday as a basketball player. There's a lot of nice pieces on the Pelicans. There's also some weird ones on the Pelicans. The fact that the Pelicans are relying on unreliable names such as Jahlil Okafor and Elfrid Payton are concerning. But if they can revive those players, and Alvin Gentry seems to be a good enough head coach where he should be able to do that, I believe the Pelicans will be the 7th seed. I believe in the Pelicans as a team. There's all those rumors about Anthony Davis. This is his last year with the Pelicans and all that. He has not said that. He has not gone all Jimmy Butler on the Pelicans. So for that reason, I believe it's going to be a same old with the Pelicans. I believe they're good enough to make the postseason. Anthony Davis is a top 5 player in the world. They get the 7th seed. 6th seed, this is a team I'm huge on. The Denver Nuggets. Jokic is a star player. They have a head coach in Mike Malone. They have Will Barton, who's a really good player. They have it all in Denver. They have Gary Harris, who's an underrated player. They are the team that nobody wants to talk about. They have Paul Millsap, who once scored 60 points in a playoff game. Paul Millsap is a baller. Jokic is a baller. Isaiah Thomas, if the Denver Nuggets get anything out of Isaiah Thomas, again, they have Will Barton, who's a real nice player, and their head coach, Mike Malone. This team has a lot to prove after playing nice and not making it last year. I believe the Nuggets are on the rise. They are on the rise. They have Jamal Murray, a nice young point guard. Nobody seems to talk about. They have Mason Plumlee. They are a team. Their bench is an issue with guys like Plumlee and Trey Lyles. I believe in the Denver Nuggets. I believe this is their year to prove that they are a playoff team and that they deserve to be there. And if they get anything out of their first-round pick, Michael Porter, this season, watch out for the Denver Nuggets. They could even get out of the first round. At the 5 spot, I got the San Antonio Spurs. As long as they have Greg Popovich, it's same old for the Spurs. I believe in DeRozan, and I believe in LaMarcus Aldridge. Yes, they lost their point guard to start the season. Patty Mills is still one of the best backups in the game. This is not the same old Spurs. There's no Tony Parker, there's no Tim Duncan, and there's no Manu Ginobili. But there is DeMar DeRozan, and there is LaMarcus Aldridge. Those are two of the top 40 players in the league. You should make the playoffs with two of the top 40 players in the league, and you should make it easily. I believe they are a fifth seed. I believe some people are writing them off because of the Kawhi love that I talked about earlier in the Eastern Conference predictions. I love Kawhi Leonard, but he didn't make or break the Spurs. The Spurs are a team, and this team is good enough to make the postseason. Yeah, they play a different style of ball. They don't shoot that many threes, but they're still good enough to make the postseason. And again, DeMar DeRozan is one of the best scorers in the game. LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the best scorers in the game. They should easily make the Western Conference playoffs and make it interesting and possibly get to the second round. Greg Popovich is one of the top 5 coaches in basketball history. This team is not going to lay down because of the controversy. I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out with the Spurs. Also have aging stars like Pau Gasol and even an old friend in the name of Marco Bellinelli, who is a playoff hero for the Spurs. Listen, I don't believe the Spurs are a great team. I don't believe they're a Western Conference Finals type team, but they are a team to look out for in the West. So I have the Spurs at the 5th spot. The 4th spot in the West, I have the Utah Jazz, led by second-year star Donovan Mitchell. Listen, I wouldn't be that surprised if there's a little bit of a sophomore slump for Donovan Mitchell, but I think there's enough around him to make them still a formidable foe in the Western Conference Finals. Joe Ingles, underrated. Grayson Allen might be a good NBA player. We're not so sure. But Rudy Gobert is a must-see TV. And Ricky Rubio had a nice season with the Jazz. He's developed. He's not the guy that we all thought he was going to be, but Ricky Rubio has developed into a nice all-around NBA player. Derek Favors, one of the most underrated players in the league. Alec Burks, Jay Crowder. This team is stacked, people. This team is must-see TV. The Utah Jazz will easily make the postseason. They have veterans. They have young players. They have one of the better front offices, even with the loss of Gordon Hayward. They were able to make the playoffs last year easily. This team is must-see. Donovan Mitchell is must-see TV. He should have been Rookie of the Year. Should have been Rookie of the Year. Donovan Mitchell led his team as a star player. That is the toughest thing to do in basketball, to do that. As a star, he scored the points. That's the toughest thing to do. He led them to the... Rudy Gobert missed most of last season. Rudy Gobert is one of the most underrated players of the year. Underrated players in the game. He is probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. The Utah Jazz at the 4th spot, people. Don't sleep on the Jazz because they will be playing rock star music, making the playoffs. Seed in the West, I have them moving up a few spots this upcoming season. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook, top 5 player. Paul George, top 20 player. Steven Adams, one of the most underrated players in the game. Their addition of Dennis Schroeder and Nerlens Noel, look out for those 2 additions. I believe those are smart moves. Those are young players proving that they're not at the bottom of the league like most people think. Dennis Schroeder was supposed to be one of the best point guards in the game. Now he is a backup, and he has a lot to prove. The same with Noel. He was supposed to be saving the process in Philadelphia, and now he's with the Oklahoma City Thunder. If he can learn to be a role player, this team is must-see. Getting back Andre Robertson to play the defense while everyone else plays offense. Listen, I believe in this team. They have guys like Patrick Patterson who've been there before. They have the nice flux of veterans like Grant and young players like Westbrook. I believe the Thunder are a top 3 team in the West. And they are, to me, a top 10 team in all of basketball with Paul George and Westbrook. And I really do believe that Carmelo Anthony was holding them back. I believe Billy Donovan is a good enough head coach to get a lot out of this team. but the Carmelo Anthony situation was holding this team back. Now it's Westbrook, now it's George, and I think Westbrook plays better with one than he plays with two. Freeze the crowd, people. The Oklahoma City Thunder are coming. I fully believe in them. I fully believe in this roster to make it out of the second round and possibly make the Western Conference Finals. This is no joke. I believe in Russell Westbrook. I believe he is more than just a triple-double machine. I believe in this roster, and I believe in Paul George, and I love the move staying with the Thunder. The Thunder, to me, are the clear third seed. Schroeder, don't sleep on him. Noel, don't sleep on Noel. Noel, don't sleep on Nerlens Noel. The Oklahoma City Thunder, to me, are the free seed. And Steven Adams is a big reason why. Double-double machine. Westbrook, triple-double machine. Paul George will score better. He will be more efficient being the clear number 2 guy. With Melo, there was a bit of this. Am I the 2 guy? Am I the free guy? He's the clear number 2 guy. And with led by Billy Donovan and Russell Westbrook, the Oklahoma City Thunder will be the number 3 seed in the West. Mark my words. And speaking of Melo, his new team is the number 2 seed, the James Harden-led Rockets, with Chris Paul and a really good supporting cast of guys like Nene, Brandon Knight, PJ Tucker, Marquise Chris. I believe the Houston Rockets are the number 2 seed in the West. Listen, I believe they are losing. Trevor Ariza is a big loss. Maba Mute, come on. I believe they lost a little defensively, but I believe they have the offensive firepower. And I believe Melo, my criticism of him with Oklahoma City, I believe he will fit in better with the Rockets. And the number one reason I believe that is because I believe he respects James Harden and Chris Paul way more than he respected Paul George and Russell Westbrook, because Chris Paul is one of his best friends. Chris Paul has talked to him. He's talked to James Harden. This was a Carmelo Anthony choice, people. Remember, when Carmelo Anthony was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder, he did not choose them. He was traded there. He has chosen the Rockets. He wants to be there. I love the Rockets. I believe they're an older type team. Brandon Knight. Don't sleep on Brandon Knight, people. He was really good in Phoenix. He was really good in Detroit. I know he's been traded a million times. When the Bucks made the postseason, he was a big reason why. Brandon Knight, good addition. 3-point shooting, maybe not as good as it was last year. We shall see. But I still have the Thunder as the clear number 2 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. And the idea of Melo joining there, though, the real interesting thing is the Mike D'Antoni situation. They had a falling out in New York, but if things work out, this could be the year the Houston Rockets make it to the NBA Finals. They are the number 2 seed in my Western Conference previews, though. And finally, like the movie Ocean's 12, there's too many stars in it not to make the Golden State Warriors the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Durant, Curry, Thompson, Green, now DeMarcus Cousins. The Splash Brothers added a cousin. We shall see how it adds to the roster. I love the style of play that the Golden State Warriors play. I love their bench. They have the best bench in the history of basketball. Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala are 2 of the best bench players I have ever seen play basketball. The way Iguodala is a mini Draymond Green coming off the bench is what makes the Golden State Warriors the Golden State Warriors. Again, you have Curry, who's my favorite basketball player right now. You have Klay Thompson, who is like Ray Allen. You have Kevin Durant, who is Kevin Durant. I mean, there's no stopping the Golden State Warriors. How will DeMarcus Cousins fit with this team? To me, it really doesn't matter because they're going to make him fit. Steve Kerr is, to me, the best head coach. To me, he's underrated in what he does. I think it's harder to coach stars than it is to coach a bunch of nobodies. Again, the Golden State Warriors are a clear... Can the Golden State Warriors repeat? I mean, all the talk of how they were supposed to have all their troubles last year, they still did it. To me, it all comes down to who's the best roster. I believe they have the best roster. I believe they're going to be interesting, but I believe they probably are going to repeat. But to me, they're also going to be the number 1 seed in the West. I mean, I don't want to get too far out of myself, but I believe this is the best team in basketball history for the last few years to watch. Just watching them play is so good. It's better than watching movies. It's better than watching television shows. To me, the way they play, sharing the ball, I want to see more of that in basketball. I love how Houston has tried to imitate that style, but to me, you can't beat the classics, and the Warriors are the classics. Curry they have so little to prove, but yet I believe they still want to be regarded as one of the best basketball teams in the history of the game. They will win the 1 seed. So here at the end of the day are my Western Conference standings at the end of the season, my predictions. 8 Lakers, 7 Pelicans, 6 Nuggets, 5 Spurs, 4 Jazz, 3 Thunder, 2 Rockets, 1 Warriors. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Head to Head Podcast. I'm Cam McKinney. You can check in each week on the iTunes Podcast app to listen to this podcast and check out my Eastern Conference predictions while you're at it. Thanks for listening. There will be an episode weekly. Thanks again.